everyone, it's Liam Cooper, and today I'm talking about the Unicorn Anthology, which is a multi-author anthology coming out hopefully today, edited by Peter S. Beagle. So I received an advanced reader's copy of this book from NetGalley in exchange for an honest review. All of my thoughts in here are going to be 100% my own. I think that will be fairly obvious once I get going. All of the stories are themed around unicorns, and interestingly, all of the short stories in this have been previously published elsewhere. Some of them are more than a decade old. Some of them are a little bit newer, but none of them are new stories written for this collection. Something I did notice on Goodreads is someone who has read a previous Unicorn anthology was a little upset that there was so much repetition between that anthology and this one. I think there were two stories from Unicorns versus Zombies, which was edited by Holly Black and someone else a few years ago, and that do appear in this collection, so there's some overlap. Depending on how widely versed you are in short story unicorn storytelling, it's possible this anthology could feel really repetitive. As with all short story collections, I rate each individual story on its own, and then I do an average review for the book. So technically, my average star rating for this book is 2.98, effectively a 3-star. However, if you were to kind of calculate in my enjoyment level of reading this anthology, I think I would give it a 2.5 star, because unfortunately, I only gave out 3 4 stars. I gave out 2 4 stars and 1 4.5. None of these stories was a 5. And I did give out 2 1.5 and 1 star. So there were a lot of misses in here for me. There's 16 short stories, and I guess I'll kind of go over my thoughts on the stories. This is a thing that can happen with multi-author anthologies, is like, if you just don't get along with some of the authors or some of the specific stories that from them that have been included, it can really put a damper on the overall experience. I found that several of the stories are just boring. For instance, the last short story that appears in the collection is The Transfigured Heart by Jane Yulin, who is obviously a very famous, much beloved middle grade children's author. And the story was fine. The writing was fine. The plot was fine. It was just kind of boring. And I know reading it that if I'd read it as a child, I would have been bored. It feels like something I would have read in like an English composition short story reader. Not anything I particularly would have read for fun. So that was a problem. I guess I'm just not that into unicorns. I don't object to them on principle or anything. And I've never really read any unicorn fiction, per se. I think there's a unicorn in the Chronicles of Narnia, in The Last Stand. I think he's a talking unicorn. I have no problem with that. Horse, unicorn. But I've never read, like, The Last Unicorn by Peter S. Beagle or anything like that. But I hadn't remembered the whole virgin thing. And the way that that's handled in some of these short stories is like, excuse me, like, what? There's one where a girl is bought by a unicorn hunter as a child, and then he raises her and uses her as bait to hunt unicorns. And obviously he can't rape her because, she has to stay a virgin, so he can keep using her to hunt unicorns. But then on their last hunt, or after their last hunt, she expresses her love for him, and he's in love with her, and he desires her, and she's become a woman, and so, like, they fuck on a body. Well, maybe they don't actually fuck in the story, but, like, it's implied that they're gonna fuck on top of this dead unicorn, and it's like, ew, just gross. And there's another one that was interesting. It started out really interesting about, it was like contemporary 4-H. It wasn't 4-H, but it felt like contemporary equestrian 4-H kind of story. It was like equestrian show circuit, and this gal who's still a virgin, and she rides unicorns in like a specific unicorn competition, and obviously you have to stay a virgin to ride them. And she's fallen in love with the unicorn trainer, and who's another woman. So there's this great like FF relationship, and they do sleep with one another. And then afterwards, the unicorn isn't outright hostile. The unicorn seems more confused. Like, it's not entirely sure if she's still a virgin, but it's like murky enough that he doesn't outright attack her. And it's implied that like she probably could still ride that unicorn because technically she's still a virgin. And I didn't like. There's just, it's too nebulous. Like it was too close to being like, I don't like that. I think that one was by Adam Levine and someone else too. It just scraped me the wrong way. It could have gone a really great way, and it started out pretty strong, but I didn't care for the ending. Like, she ultimately decides not to ride the unicorn, not to potentially put her life in danger, but there is some question about whether or not the unicorn actually recognizes her as still a virgin or not, which, no, she slept with another woman. She's not a virgin or whatever. Like, it's just, I don't know. It didn't, you could tell that they were trying to subvert the trope, but I don't think they hit that mark. There was another story where it was called Survivor by David Smeds. I wrote down Smeds, so hopefully that's correct. And it was about like a guy deployed to Vietnam who gets a unicorn tattoo from a possibly Chinese tattooist. It's difficult to say because the character is pretty fucking racist in the text. And so this unicorn tattoo like grants him basically immortality by like anytime an accident's going to befall him, it kills someone around him. And it's just, I tweeted about this. It's like one of those stories where it's about a 20th century white American dude who's like just enough racist so that it's authentic without it being too racist that you hate him. But at the same time, it's like, it's not cute. Your casual racism still bugs me. I don't care if it takes place in the 60s and the 70s. And there's this weird thing with his daughter at the end. I had to skim the last couple of pages just because I hated the character so much. I didn't like casual racism. I hated just kind of like the deadbeatness of the character. I hated it. I gave it a 1 star. So, all of those negative things being said, a couple of stories were good, and they did stand out to me. One of them being The Maltese Unicorn by Caitlin R. Kiernan. This one was really great. It was set in, like, I think, contemporary-ish New York, and there's, like, a succubus demon from hell who has a club, and there's a partial demon who wants to steal this object that'll allow them to, like, touch a unicorn and, like, get power, and we have our eponymous hero who's just human, who's kind of, like, caught up in this world, and very much like in the spirit of The Maltese Falcon, which is a book is problematic, but I do enjoy. I do like the writing, and I think the mystery's quite fun, despite all of its problematic elements. So that was really good. I also liked another story called Ghost Town by Jack C. Haldeman, which was about a grifter con man whose car breaks down just outside this little know-nothing town, and it's kind of all about the town only appears when you're ready for it to appear, and kind of like inner reflection and purity and stuff, and there's like a unicorn in the town. I don't know. It was just dreamy and a little off enough that it was interesting, and it was like the characters were kind of interesting, even though it was a very short story. I liked that one. I also liked Stampede of Light by Marina Fitch, which was about a nebulous kind of witch, demon, angel character who collects children who feel forgotten, children at the school who feel kind of like invisible or ignored, and turns them into unicorns by stitching them into a blanket, and a teacher who notices, and it's because the teacher was almost, as a child, collected, And that story was really, really good and unique. There was a story by Garth Nix in this collection, which was, I won't lie, one of the reasons I requested it, because I love me some Garth Nix. I gave his story a 3.75. It was the highest justice. It was one of those ones where it was high fantasy, and it was really interesting about like a princess whose mother has died under suspicious circumstances, and she's invoked the power of this unicorn to basically bring her mother back as a zombie, because she's trying to get her mother to her father, this like philandering terrible king, so that her mother can have like her dying wish, which is to kiss him goodbye, because her mother actually loved him even though he's a philandering asshole. And it's one of those things that if it was like expanded into a novella or a longer story, man, I think I would love it. It was a little bit short. It was a little bit too short, because it's a short story, and I do wish there had been more, because I think there were just some like really cool ideas in there, and it was really interesting. And you know, Garth Nix writes great characters and has really unique kind of fantasy ideas. So 3.75. You know, there was another short story in here by Peter S. Beagle called My Son, Hey Derry and the Carcadan, which was okay. I think it was the only story. No, there were two stories in here that weren't explicitly inspired by white Western European folklore. My Son, Hey Derry, and also, I don't think I wrote it down. It was like the Lioness and the Unicorn. I think that was the other one. Both of those were, I think, 3 or 3.5 stars for me. Okay, not outstanding, but okay. And at least they were included. Like this is definitely very like white Western collection. There was a short by Patricia McKillop in here called Unicorn Triangle, which was okay. I'm trying to remember what that one was about. Oh, that one had like this universe traveling element to it, which I really liked the first half of it, but I thought it had too much of a Deus Ex Machina element at the end. And like obviously it's just a short story, so like it's another one where if it had been a novella, I think I would have been really into it, because I loved like the unicorn reality traversal thing, and like there was this witch who was a child and then an old woman and a wizard in another reality and all these sorts of things. And I thought that was really good. It just needed to be longer. So those are kind of my thoughts on the individual stories. Obviously, I haven't mentioned everything in here because a lot of them were just like 2.5 to 3 stars and were kind of forgettable, to be honest. Like I can't really think of them. I've mentioned like the ones that really stand out to me, good and bad, in my memory. Very average collection. I think, unfortunately, I don't think my reception of the stories is going to be super unique. I think a lot of people who read this will probably find many stories hits and misses. There's a wide range of topics and the theme's very general, and then also it's just some of the stories are older and like you can tell, and they don't necessarily stand up, I think, to a modern audience's expectations. So yeah. And then just fundamentally, it makes it feel a little recycled. So 2.5 to 3 stars. Those are my thoughts on the Unicorn Anthology. I'm not going to feel bad about saying that, because that's how I felt reading it. It's one of those things where, I mean, you feel kind of awkward, I guess, reading a book that you were approved to read and then not liking it all that much, but you have to be honest about it. And you know, on my channel, I'm brutally honest. Anyways, if you have any questions about this collection, questions or concerns about content or trigger warnings, feel free and leave those down below if you are interested in picking them up, and I'll try to answer them as best I can. Thanks for watching. As always, if you enjoy my content or any of my reviews, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and let me know if you're thinking about picking this up, or if you've already read it, what your thoughts are, and let me know too, what's your favorite book or novella about unicorns? I'd love to know, because like I said, this is like really kind of my first real introduction to them. Yeah, anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.